ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. As you can tell, it's, Monday, so it's going to be very short. The dishes are going to be very small. This time the treadmill was pretty much nothing. 70 calories. That's pretty really low. But that's only because we were walking slow. Yeah, my bad. I haven't seen anything in a while, huh? My bad. It's probably gonna be a story video today. Probably just gonna be like it, but I can't get it. But we're speaking again. Not sure why I wasn't really talking, to be honest. Just didn't have anything to say. But I guess today's plan is pretty simple. Primal Fear, tabs, and that's about it. Yeah, obviously, do a story video today. What? It's broken? No. Bro, it's broken. That's actually, bro. Main, the machine's broken. And I'm too lazy to, the cables recently have just been so mid. Alright, well, I guess I'll just see you guys in the next segment, right?
Hey guys, welcome back. So, Let's Read 5 days ago uploaded a 4 first date stories that turned into nightmares. So, that's kind of a new topic. So, we'll have a look at it, right? Lock in.
Almost a whole 10 years ago now, in the spring of 2017, I dropped my bag after walking out of a store downtown. It was mortifying. Everyone saw, these 2 girls laughed, and I had to get on my hands and knees on the dirty sidewalk to gather up my things. That is, until a very handsome man stopped to help. It made me feel even worse in a way, being perceived so hard during the aftermath of a clumsy moment. But at the same time, it was very welcome. His name was Aiden. He had brown hair and brown eyes, and he was kind of like a cross between Pete Davidson and Zac Efron, in that he was handsome, tall, and with a kind of quirky streak, I guess. He helped me pick up my stuff, told me that it happens to the best of us, and then made some joke about how I probably did it on purpose, to show off all the cool stuff I had in there. Now, I told him that unless tampons and IBS medication are now considered cool, then all I did was embarrass myself. To which Aiden jokingly replied that, since he helped me out, I should take him out for a drink. Now, I hadn't been on a date in over a year by then, so I half joked back that he should be careful what he wished for. But that's how we ended up swapping numbers and then talking a little before we arranged a date. We just went for a 20-minute coffee at first, nothing major, and then when seeing Aiden again turned out to be fun, we arranged an actual date, like at a restaurant. Aiden was an attractive guy, but when he showed up to the restaurant, goddamn, he was looking fine. He had a white shirt with the sleeves rolled, and he smelled great. As in, he hadn't drowned himself in cologne like some guys do, which kind of suggested to me a wider pattern of having figured things out, so to speak. He also purposely didn't shave because on our coffee date, I mentioned something about appreciating a little stubble. So not only did he look great, but that kind of showed me that he listened too, you know? Now what I'm trying to say is that it was all green flags, and since I was feeling so smug with myself, I took a picture of him in secret while he was looking down at the menu. I sent the picture to my roommate with a caption saying, "Isn't he beautiful?" Now she replied, "He's a cutie," and then sent back a quirky smiley emoji, and then put my phone down so I could look at the menu. A few minutes went by, and Aiden and I started getting into the nitty-gritty of what we like to eat, like how he wasn't a huge seafood fan and how red meat sometimes felt too heavy for me. A waitress came over and we ordered drinks and appetizers, and then when the drinks came, I picked my phone up off the table to make room for the lady to put the drinks down. And that's when I saw my phone had practically blown up with notifications. All the texts and missed calls were from my roomie, and I saw that one of the texts just said, "Get out now." I read through the others real quick as the lady's putting the drinks down, and then after thanking her, I apologized to Aiden and said my roomie appeared to be having an emergency. He suggested I call her. Now, I said that sounded like a good idea, and then off I went to do just that. Now, once I was outside, I read through her messages to get a better idea of what was going on before I hit call, and this is what I read. My roomie said Aiden was her friend's ex, and that during their relationship, he'd been unhealthily possessive and controlling. My roomie's friend fell for that old cliche of thinking that she could try and fix him, and so she stuck it out for about a month before throwing in the towel and trying to break up with him. But Aiden refused to accept her decision, and not only did he make her life miserable by stalking and harassing her for probably 6 months, but she had to get a restraining order to get him to stop for good. My roommate crammed all of that and more into maybe 10 or 12 short text messages, and then, having read through them, I hit the call button. When she picked up, I didn't tell my roomie that I was on my way to grab a cab or something. I said that I just thought she was wrong. Aiden seemed like the sweetest guy, and it had all been green flags up until then. But when I asked her to confirm the name of her friend's ex, the reply came back in less than a minute. Aiden. My roomie had me on speaker and was texting with her friend whose ex she thought Aiden was. And so maybe a minute after we got the name, my roommate tells me to check my email. Her friend had sent over a picture taken with one of those doorbells with a built-in camera. It must have been a fancy one too, I guess, because it had a night vision setting.
Yo, she got like the fastest friends. Oh my goodness. She got the fastest friends relaying all this data so quickly. By the way, I guess you should probably like go home. How'd you get there? Did you drive there or what? But just say sorry and go.
And there, in this creepy kind of black and white imagery that showed him with glowing eyes and teeth bared, was Aiden. It was Aiden, all right. There was no mistaking it. But he looked like he belonged in an asylum. He was literally snarling. His eyes looked all wild, and maybe it was just a trick of the light, but it legitimately looked like he had foam frothing from the edges of his mouth, like he was actually rabid. I later learned the picture was a still from a video the doorbell cam had recorded when Aiden stopped by his ex's home and tried convincing her to let him in. She didn't, obviously, but when she refused, he went crazy, and then went on some horrible rant about how she was worthless and wouldn't find anyone better, all that bullcrap. He tried to break into her house too, but apparently came to his senses when she made clear that she was calling the police. And then after that, she had grounds for a restraining order, and so she filed one. Now, I obviously didn't find out all the details until the days after, but at the time, all I needed to see was that picture of him to know that he was a ticking time bomb. But there was just one problem. I had been way too open with him during the first week of talking. Maybe it was the meet cute and how much like a rom-com it felt, and I know him being so hot contributed a whole lot too. But considering this guy was a total psycho, I'd given him way too much personal information to feel anywhere near comfortable in just ducking. My roommate told me to give him an excuse, to say that she'd been in a minor car accident and was really shook up about it or something.
No, you shouldn't lie. You go to him and be like, sorry, my bad. Can't be together. Is what it is. Good luck in your next one. Done. You start lying and stuff, he gon', I don't know, actually.
That's what I went with. I walked back into the restaurant, told him I was so sorry, but that there had been an emergency and I had to go. I told him about the car accident, and at the time, he was just like, oh my god, that's terrible, go be with your friend. But there was something going on underneath, something which made me think that he hadn't altogether bought it. I grabbed my things, walked outside, and grabbed a cab. Now my heart was racing the whole time, and as soon as I managed to catch one, I was on the phone with my roommate saying, okay, I'm out of there, now what? And then once I got home, what followed was more like a war room than a discussion, because we had to figure out how I was going to ditch Aiden without him getting upset and offended.
You just say, sorry, I don't want to date you anymore. Done. It's very simple, no? I don't think the guy's gonna get attached to her. Probably not. I don't think he would. Because what? You had one coffee date, and then you had one dinner date, and that was it. You ain't done anything else. You haven't kissed. You haven't slept together. So, he's probably not gonna get attached. So, just say, sorry, I don't want to date you anymore. My bad. Thank you. Done. He's not gonna get attached, to be honest. I doubt he would. Doubt he would.
But luckily, we had his ex around to help talk us through it. Now, I thought a kind of death by 1,000 cuts approach would work, where I'd just sort of like tell him I was busy over and over until he got the message.
Why? Just say... okay. I'm gonna skip that story now. Next one. It's like, the rest of it is just girl talk. Just be like, okay, I don't want to date you anymore. Done. So simple. He ain't gonna do anything. If he does, then just get the police. Done. So simple. Story 2, lock in. Wow, that story lasted until 20 minutes. We just saved ourselves like 12 minutes. We just saved ourselves 12 minutes. You know what happened? You know what probably happened? If she went with that method saying that she was busy until you get the message, that's gonna cause more shit. That's gonna cause more shit than just saying, sorry, I don't want to date you anymore. Good luck in your next one. Done. You know what I mean? Is what it is. Even be a bit more, maybe be a bit more like less, you know, just be honest. That's it. You don't need to just be like, yeah, I don't want to date you anymore. Done. Simple as that. He ain't gonna do anything and he's not gonna get attached. They'll respect you more if you just be honest. Be like, yeah, I just don't want to date you anymore. Is what it is. Next story.
This happened a couple of months back. I've been debating whether to send this over or just bury it, but after everything that happened, I figured that you might appreciate it for your channel. I've changed my name and a few details in case anyone's still sniffing around, but the core of it is true. So I've been single for a long time, and I was very fed up with scrolling through the apps like some mug. Then, out of nowhere, this girl, Chloe, slid into my Insta DMs, and I thought my luck had finally changed. She was like my absolute dream girl. Dark hair, big smile, and from her photos, she looked like she was honestly a riot. We chatted for a week or so, and she seemed cool, and we were into the same music and joked about the same stupid things. And I felt like we had a ton of chemistry, so it wasn't long before I asked her out, and we arranged to meet somewhere on a Saturday night. Now, I turned up at this nice little bar near the canal, and with my aftershave and shirt on, I didn't have to wait long for Chloe to turn up, and when she did, she looked even better than her pictures. The date went great at first. It was easy to chat, tons of laughing, and she kept touching my arm, very flirty, which was honestly a rush. I thought she was the girl of my dreams, and then after a couple of drinks, she suggested we go for a walk to this quiet spot with a nice view over the old warehouses. She said it would be
I don't know. Honeypotting is a thing. Wolf. You know, by the way, just saying, like, if you just bring like a girl back home or something, right? That girl could just kill you in your sleep. Just saying. So, I would say it's kind of it is what it is moment for now, right? You want to go somewhere quiet. Again, it just depends on the context, right? It was like, yeah. Again, though, like, it is what it is. Because, like, literally, if you bring back a girl back home, she could literally kill you in your sleep and you wouldn't know. It's just like, it's just that simple, right?
be romantic, and I was that excited that I didn't even question it. We wandered off from the main part of town through some side streets and then down towards an empty industrial area. Now, it was towards the end of April, so the sun was starting to go down at about 8:30, and it made the sky look really nice as we went. And she was right.
Who texted me?
It was very romantic, and my head was in the clouds by the time.
Okay, so it's not even pitch black yet in the story. It's like sunsetting. So I guess that's romantic.
Got to this old factory with a gap in the chain fence. There was graffiti everywhere, and it didn't look like anyone had been there in years. But Chloe said that she used to go there for adventures with her friends when she was a kid. I thought that sounded really cute, and so in I went after her, like some absolute dummy. And then once we were actually inside, that's when everything went sideways. I was following her into that warehouse when I heard footsteps from behind me. And then before I could even turn around, someone smashed me in the knee with something heavy. Down I went, really hard onto the concrete as pain shot up my legs into my back. And then the next thing I know, there's 3 or 4 dudes on me, wearing tracksuits with their hoods up. One of them had a bat or a pole and was hitting me with it, but another had his phone out filming. They didn't say anything at first, just started laying into me as I screamed out in pain. I tried to curl up into a ball and cover my head, but they were going for it, kicking my ribs, punches to the face, everything. I'd cover my head and they'd kick me in the stomach, and then I'd cover my stomach and they'd kick me in the head. I started to taste blood in my mouth and I knew that I had to try and get away, but when I tried to push myself up, one of them would just stomp on my head. I remember looking at Chloe and begging for help, but instead of running or pulling her phone out to call the police, she didn't do either. She just stepped back and watched. Not shocked, almost bored, like she'd seen it all before, and that hurt worse than the kicks or punches, realizing that it had been nothing but some trap. But while I asked why me in my head, I didn't have to wait long for an answer. They kept going until I stopped trying to get up, and then one of them leaned down close, really close, and told me something like, "This is what happens when people don't learn lessons." I have no idea what they were talking about at first, but then it hit me. They had to have been talking about my brother. There was no other explanation. Now, we hadn't spoken in about 3 years at the time, mainly because he's a complete idiot. He got into smuggling these foreign cigarettes after going on vacation, like the really cheap ones that get sold at different bars and random blocks and that kind of thing, and he made some decent money at it too, until he pissed off the wrong people. They were bigger, physically bigger, but larger in terms of their organization too. And he later said that there were rumors going around that he'd actually taken a shipment and undercut them hard. They warned him to pack it in, but he told them to mind their own business. Well, it turns out they'd been watching him, enough to figure out where me and my mom lived, and then instead of targeting him, they decided to target me instead. Chloe wasn't some...
R.I.P. I guess. What can you do about it? Your brother did something. Now, yeah. Honestly, you couldn't really have done much there, to be honest, right? I mean, maybe don't walk into the thing, but regardless, if you didn't walk into the warehouse, they'll get you some other way. You know what I mean? They'll get you some other way.
Baddie that had slipped into my DMs. She was a lure, and they'd picked me because I was the soft target, the younger brother who actually had a normal life and wouldn't suspect anything.
Yep.
Their plan was to get me, film me, and then send it to my brother as a message.
Yep.
A real old-school intimidation tactic, and you know what? It worked.
Yeah, of course it did.
I don't know how long the kicking lasted. It felt like it went on forever, but it probably lasted only a couple of minutes. And then after saying something like, "Say hello to your brother for us," they just walked off laughing, calm as can be. And Chloe was laughing too, and like I said, that was honestly worse than all the kicks and punches. Being jumped is one thing, but me being stupid, a gullible idiot, and believing that she was interested in me, that hurt stayed with...
Again though, same thing though. If they really wanted to do a different route, he could have slept with Chloe, and then after they slept together and he's asleep, Chloe would drug him or do something, or it's so bad that... Not so bad, but it's just so unpredictable that you could literally go on multiple dates of a girl, right? And then one day all of a sudden when you're like in bed together and you're asleep, she drugged you or something, and then she opens the front door to like a group of people, and then you're dead or something, right? It is what it is. It is what it is. This scenario here, yeah, brother did something, but yeah. I mean, you know, same thing as like a group of tribal men came to you and be like, hey, did you know your ancestors 500 years ago did this? So you get it now. It's just balance and stuff.
Me long after the bruises. I remember just lying there for a while, spitting out blood while my ribs ached, and as I realized that I could only see out of one eye. God knows why they didn't take my phone or shoes, but I was able to call myself a cab once I dragged myself off that deck and staggered back out into the street on the other side of that fence. When the driver asked what had happened, I told him that I'd fallen over. He didn't believe me, but he took me home anyway. I spent the next week just completely dead on the sofa with painkillers and ice packs after telling work that I just had a bad stomach bug. The ache stopped after a day or two.
It depends on that scenario, but like, if your brother wasn't, I mean, you would probably just like tell the cops and they'll just get him pretty easily, right? Like, I mean, it just depends on the context of like what your brother been doing, right? Some kind of organization ecosystem going on there, right? Some kind of drug stuff or, you know, illegal stuff, right? So you can't really call the police because then your brother's gonna probably get locked up too. Just depends, right? It's just that ecosystem, unfortunately. Yeah. But like, if you didn't really care about your brother, then you could probably just call the police and the police would lock out, like shut down that entire organization pretty easily. Like, it's not very hard. Chloe's got an Instagram. They'll just lock her up and they'll do the same tactics or some other stuff. Ecosystems, blah, blah, blah. Meh, meh, meh.
3 really, and I still stayed for a week, probably because I was depressed or something, and I just didn't want to admit it. I found out later that my brother got the video. He called me a few days after for the first time in years, and his voice sounded incredibly shaky. He said he was sorry, that he'd paid what he owed plus extra and got out of the game, and he basically begged me to forgive him too. I told him to F off at the time, but these days I do appreciate him reaching out because it meant a lot. Mom's happy we're talking again, even if it is awkward, but I'm still just jumpy going out after dark.
I would have just joined my brother and be like, hey, let's work together and let's get them back. I don't know. I just joined the ecosystem if your brother's already doing that. Alright, next story. Story 3, lock in. It's only already been 21 minutes, but so far it's not too bad. It's somewhat entertaining, kinda.
So back before the big cough, during the washout English summer of 2019, 7th rainiest on record, whoop-de-bloody-doo, I remember swiping through Tinder one afternoon in my flat. I don't know if anyone remembers Tinder around that time, but there were a lot of fake profiles set up by scammers.
2019. Wow, that's like 7 years ago?
It got to the point where if a really fit girl appeared in my feed, I'd just be like, bot, and swipe left. But then that afternoon, as I'm sitting there swiping with the rain pittering and pattering on the windows, this absolute fox appeared in front of me. And I hesitated. Her name was Anna, one N by the way, and she looked like an elf, the Tolkien kind, but covered in tattoos. She also had these big green eyes, almost white gold hair, and whatever she did for exercise, it was doing her proud. There were pictures of her at music festivals and a nightclub and at some vegan cafe looking place. And in every one
I mean, if that's your taste, bro, go for it. Music festivals, clubs, tattoos. Yeah, that's definitely not something I'd. Yeah, I mean, if that's what he likes, then yeah, go for it. Right, it is what it is.
She looked like a freaking supermodel. But for some reason, my now built-in bot detector was only giving off a
I don't think bots go for that look. By the way, just saying, I don't think bots do that. Not gonna lie, bots go for more like, you know, Barbie dolls. They don't really. A bot is not gonna do something like that. Tattoos and music festivals. That's too much effort for a bot. That's too much effort.
Child alert. All of Anna's photos looked legitimate, so
Yeah.
just in case she was actually real, I swiped right
She's
and then
probably
hoped
real.
for the best.
She's real, but that's just your taste. She's real, but yeah, man.
A few hours later, my phone chimed with Tinder's signature tone. I got that little dopamine rush that came with knowing that I had a match, but when I saw who had matched me, I had two waves wash over me, each one made of distinctly different disbelief. Now, the first was no effing way. That girl just swiped right on me, but the second was more like, there's no way this girl is real if she just swiped right on me. Now, not to sound too lacking in the self-esteem department, but I hardly consider myself Anna's type. So instead of going with my usual, "Hi there, how's it going?" I just cut to the chase and asked her, "Are you real?" She sent back a laughing emoji, and then after explaining why I'd asked her that, she seemed very flattered and most definitely not a bot. I then asked what kind of scam she was pulling, and if I went out with her, was I going to wake up in an ice bath the next morning with my kidney missing? Now, she sent me back another laughing emoji and then the text saying, "Only one way to find out, right?" I asked her if she wanted to meet up for a drink, and she said sure, and asked where I was based. And then when I told her, she said something like, "I can be there in 20 minutes." And the reply kind of knocked me for six because we'd only just matched and she wanted to meet right away. Every girl I'd matched with had wanted to chat for at least a few days before making arrangements, and yet there was this gorgeous nymph creature who wanted to meet little old me right away. And it made me think of the word scam all over again because seriously, who the hell meets up with someone from the internet that they met that day? Well, Anna apparently, because after asking for my number, she gave me a call and explained her logic. The first thing I noticed was how pretty her voice sounded, and maybe this was like a purely subjective thing, but I found it almost hypnotic. Now, she was really well spoken, which I find very attractive as a rough northerner, but she had this really raspy, sleepy thing going too, which was also very attractive, but in a kind of calming ASMR sort of way. So right away I'm thinking, if this is a scam, it's going to be a very relaxing one. But when Anna explained herself, she actually made sense. Like I mentioned, we'd been having the worst summer for literally years in terms of rain, wind, and clouds. July looked more like early April in parts, and the entire country was watching their summer quite literally go down the drain. Anna said that she wanted to get out of the house and have some actual fun, even if it was just another indoor space. She also said that she was pretty stressed out and had been arguing with her family about stuff, so she wanted to get away for a while, if only for a few hours. She said I seemed cool and, more importantly, safe, in which case, why not meet me today? Now I started seeing it as a golden opportunity to cheer up a very...
I mean, meeting up on the same day it's not like that bad, is it? I don't think it's that bad. It's kind of like when you go to like a girl in real life and be like, "You want to go for coffee?" "Sure," and then you just straight away walk to a cafe. Sounds pretty normal to me. Except, I don't really know what Tinder is. Okay, well, just depends on where you're meeting, obviously. Meet at a public place together. Obviously, don't invite them to your house straight away, because then that's obviously GG, right?
pretty girl and quite possibly reap the benefits of having done so, whatever those benefits may be. Because after all, and in the words of Dolly Parton, I'm just a man. We met at this little bar, maybe 5 minutes walk.
Okay, so they met at a bar. Okay, that's fine so far. Nothing much red flags, except for like the type of girl she is, but if that's his type, then whatever.
From my house. I said that I'd walk down after a quick shower, and granted it took me a while to get my appearance looking right, but when I got there, Anna was sitting there waiting for me. She was twice as beautiful in person, and the only thing I found slightly off-putting were her teeth. I don't mean they were ugly or anything. She didn't need any obvious dental work done, and her breath didn't smell bad or anything, so I'm assuming she brushed them before she left the house. And so while telling myself not to be so effing judgmental about an objectively gorgeous girl, I just sat down and we got chatting. Anna was a dream. I'm being honest. Now, it might sound crazy considering what I'm about to tell you shortly, but to this day, The first half of my date with Anna was the best I'd ever been on. Now, I don't harp about it too much, don't worry, but I feel like I've banged my drum about her enough already. But it was so much fun that when she came back with our 4th round of drinks and asked me a very unusual question, I didn't even hesitate. She came back to the table, put our pints of Guinnesses down and said, "Listen, I got a bit of a favor to ask. No hard feelings if you say no, because it might seem a bit weird, but can I stay over at your place tonight?"
I don't know. I don't know. You can say I don't know, man. You know, it's like yes and no, I guess, is what it is. Like I said, this could happen to anyone, by the way. He's probably gonna say sure. Again, I don't really know how hookup culture works, but like, yeah, I don't know.
In my head, I'm saying, say yes, say yes, say yes. And it definitely read on my face that I was delighted, and I still managed a pretty cool, sure, why not? And then she kissed me. I know that sounds totally like and then everybody clap type moment, but like I said, it was the best date I've ever went on. She didn't just smile when I said yes. She beamed, and when she did, she looked radiant. So when this golden-haired elven queen leaned across the table and literally pulled me in for a kiss, I was too stunned to even kiss her back at first.
Yeah, bro's gonna bring it back to home, and either he has a good time and found someone actually good, or something happens.
When she pulled away, and with the entire bar looking at me like, who the F is this player, she told me, "Sorry, I just really appreciate it, and you look really hot." And I did just about everything in my power to keep from falling off my chair. When we finished our pints, I swear my feet didn't touch the floor as we walked towards the door. I was walking on air. Then we got back to my place, and without going into too much detail, we spent the next hour or so doing something that required a shower afterwards and one taken together. Once we were done, dried and dressed, Anna asked if she could smoke in my flat. Now, she could already see an ashtray on my coffee table, but she was still polite enough to ask. Another green flag. And so I told her, mi casa, su casa kind of thing. I also told her if she wanted to smoke something a bit stronger, I had a bit of hash that I bought only a few days prior, and we could smoke some of that.
They're both druggies. Both druggies. Tinder.
After I fixed us something to eat. Anna then suggested that she roll us a joint while I get started on food, which sounded like a great idea. And so I gave her my little
I guess that's why he thought that. I guess that's why he likes that type, because he's also one of those types. I was gonna say, I was like, if that's his type, then sure. And then turns out he's one of them as well. So, yeah. Dirty. Okay.
Couch and then went off into the kitchen to prepare some tacos. Now, the way my flat was set up was with an open kitchen and living area. So while I'm in the kitchen, I could literally see Anna on my sofa, leaning over the rolling tin and making our spliff. Granted, I wasn't exactly watching her like a hawk or anything, but everything seemed kosher by the time she'd finished her rolling and lit the thing up. She took 2 poles and then offered it to me, but since I was busy frying up some marinated pork, I said that I'd take it in a minute or two. And then once the pork was cooked nicely, I took it off the heat and walked over to Anna to take the joint from her. The first thing she said when I took it was, "Sit down with me." But I told her no, not yet, because I still had tacos to assemble. I was starving. I took 2 deep drags of the joint and then passed it back to her, and as I did, I noticed that she had this certain look about her. Slightly anxious, but also slightly excited. She joked about me being judgmental about her rolling abilities, so after assuring her it was a good effort, I walked back into the kitchen to carry on cooking. I remember rehydrating the corn tortillas that
There's something in that joint. There's something in it. Oh, there's something in it. He's gone. He's gone, bro. He gone.
I had stored away.
GG.
When suddenly my hands started to feel almost loose on the panhandle.
Yeah.
Not in a clumsy way, it was more of a subtle slowness.
Yeah, something was in that joint. I knew it. Oh yeah, okay, hold on.
Like my hands had suddenly been
GG.
submerged in this warm water. Now, at first glance, it was nice and, more importantly, familiar, but then came what I can only describe as these golden waves, rolling up from my chest and then flowing down my
Don't do drugs, guys. Don't do drugs.
arms and legs. It felt like someone had poured warm honey into my veins, and I remember realizing that for some reason I wasn't hungry anymore. Everything softened at the edges. The light from the kitchen spots
For all I know, because I don't take drugs, but for all I know, this could just be normal for them. I don't know.
looked warmer, and the sizzle of the wet tortillas softening up in the pan started to sound almost distant. I turned to Anna and asked how much hash she had burned into that joint, and all she said in reply was, "You should come and sit down." Her voice was like velvet in my ear. She asked if I was almost done, and then when I nodded, my head felt all heavy, but in a way that was strangely pleasant. But then the warmth kept building and building until it went beyond just relaxing and started to almost thicken, almost like I had lining of syrup in my lungs and I was trying to breathe through it.
Yeah, don't do
I
drugs.
tried to flip the tortilla that I had in the pan, and I found that I could barely operate the spatula. And that's when I started to realize that I wasn't just stoned, and that something else was happening to me.
Yeah, GG.
I took the pan off the heat and told Anna that I needed to sit down for a minute. She asked if I was all right, and when I said I didn't know, the words came out slowly, like they had to swim up through the syrup that was filling my lungs. I sat down on the couch next to Anna, and when I looked up at the ceiling, it looked like it was breathing. My eyes wanted to close, and I felt strangely itchy, and as I felt my heart rate start to slow after a period of almost racing, I realized I could barely bring Anna's face into focus. There was no way smoking a bit of weed would do that to me, someone who smoked pretty much every night before bed. So as my chest started to feel tighter and tighter, I asked Anna, what did she put in that joint? Now, she didn't say ever, actually. I just found out later on, but at the time, all she said was, "Does it feel good?" And I could barely talk by that point. But I told her no, and that something
Bro, she probably put like she either trying to kill him or like put him on something stronger or something. I don't know. Druggies, bro. It's like this man smokes level 1 weed every night, and all of a sudden this girl brought like level 50 weed or something. I don't know what I'm saying, but
wasn't right. But if I'm being honest,
but also by the way, but no. But when it comes, okay, there's like a thing about this story, right? She can only kill so many guys, so it's either she kills him and he's the first victim, but a girl can only kill so many guys before she's caught. A girl can only steal so many kidneys if she, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's either you're the first one and it is what it is, or you're the multiple victim, then they'll get caught eventually, but like, yeah, it is what it is.
sort of a lie. I felt great, like I was floating through this heavy warmth. But then, as I was trying to get Anna to tell me what she'd given me, things took a horrible turn. A cold sweat broke out across my forehead, my fingers started tingling and going numb at the tips, and my legs started to feel detached, like they weren't responding to my brain anymore. I tried to stand up, but the room lurched hard, and I had to grab the arm of the couch to stop myself from falling.
He's really making drugs, doing drugs, you know? Don't do drugs.
I had to physically force my eyes open to keep them from closing, and I realized that I wasn't just breathing shallowly because I was high. It was because it was becoming more and more the case that I couldn't breathe at all. I started to panic, and I remember telling Anna to call 999 while thinking, don't pass out, please don't effing pass out. She scrambled for her phone as I slid back onto the couch, feeling my body start to shut down completely. And the last thing I remember clearly is her face hovering above me, and this terrible knowledge that if I passed out, I might not wake up. I remember hearing her voice at one point, cutting through the fog like, "Oh no, oh no, oh no, please wake up, you gotta wake up." I remember her shaking me too. I tried to answer, but my chest felt like it was full of cement, and my voice wouldn't seem to leave my throat. Every breath was a shallow, deliberate effort, and then everything just went dark again. I was convinced that I was going to die, and it sounds really
Bro been smoking level 1 drugs, and then all of a sudden this girl's like level 50 drugs and he can't handle it. Because you probably have to like gradually build it up, I guess. It's kind of like some guy benches like 10 kgs every night, and then this woman comes in and is like, "Hey, bench this," and then he lifts it up. There's 100 kgs and he's dead. Like something like that. That's kind of the only logic I could kind of compare it to. You know? That's what it sounds like. I mean, like I said, it's either she try to kill him and she go jail, or like she tries to do something, jail, or she simply just brought a high level drug that he can't handle yet, and now he gone. Don't do drugs.
dark to
But I mean, at the same time, do drugs because people like them help people like us and help other people. It's all a balance. So, you know, do what you please, I guess. I don't know.
think about it now, but there was one point where Anna shook me awake and I just thought, just let me die in peace. I know now that wasn't me thinking clearly. It was the drugs in my system, but even as I was on the verge of death, I still didn't know what was killing me. Even when I saw all these flashing lights across the ceiling and the paramedics were inside my flat and putting oxygen on me.
Okay, so she actually called the paramedics and stuff, so this probably just an accident then. She just thought you could handle more, I guess. But still, you guys are doing drugs to begin with, so whatever.
I thought that I had no chance, and I was weirdly just okay with it. I have a hazy memory of someone peeling one of my eyelids back and shining a light into my eye. I remember someone pinching my finger for some reason, and then after a sharp prick on my arm, it was like I was dragged back to life. Everything stayed hazy for a second, and there was nothing but this dull pressure in my arm, and then wham! My chest suddenly heaved, as it felt like someone pumped a load of air into my lungs. I could breathe again, and that felt amazing, but it came with this nauseating clarity that I'd most likely almost overdosed on some kind of opiate, and that Anna was to blame. I remember looking around to see only 2 paramedics in front of me. One was standing, and the other was putting a blanket around me saying, "It's okay, mate. We've got you. You're going to be all right." I managed a jittery thank you and then asked, "Where is she?" because I couldn't see Anna anywhere.
She fled.
I was told that she'd gone upstairs because she didn't like needles. And then without skipping a beat, the male paramedic asked me, "How much heroin did you smoke, mate?" I'd been unconscious at the time, but Anna had told them the truth about what she'd given me, and that allowed the paramedics to bring me back quickly and safely, which is something, I suppose. I also wasn't shocked to hear what it was because I had kind of figured it out by then. And while I was incredibly furious with her, I was just too exhausted and relieved to be alive to do anything but just sit there and answer the paramedics' questions. Basically because I didn't know how much I'd smoked and because Anna was now distraught upstairs and wouldn't come down, I had to go to the hospital. It was obviously also my first time taking a dose like that, so I was going to be in such an unstable condition, it was best that I spent the night in the hospital so they could keep an eye on me. I could stand enough to walk to the ambulance, but I was so jittery that I could barely get any words out, so when I pointed upstairs, the lady paramedic cut me off and said, "Don't worry about her, she's fine. Just worry about yourself." Now, I was more trying to make the point of I wanted the girl who spiked me to be removed from my home, but the lady was right there and that there were bigger fish to fry in the moment. At the hospital, they wheeled me through these 2 bright corridors, past doctors and nurses, and then asked me a bunch of...
Would you be mad at her though? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, obviously drugging's terrible, right? But you kind of put yourself in that ecosystem, if I'll be honest. Kind of. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It just a bit. Just not really. It's just because you're in the same ecosystem, so I'm not really. It's not really like a shocker thing, right? It's like, oh, well, you know, you're similar ecosystem, so not surprised, but it's pretty bad. But at the same time, you already, you know what I mean?
More questions as they drew more blood. And by the time I was given a bed, hooked up to an IV, and told to get some sleep, I felt this mix of exhausted relief and a deep, nauseating shame. I was alive, but barely, and all I could think was how close that warm, sleepy feeling had come to pulling me under, for good. Anna was gone by the time I got back to my flat, and all that was left was a note that said, "I'm sorry." Now, I thought about texting her, but I didn't even know what I'd say, and writing out a bunch of abuse wouldn't do any good, so I just deleted her number and tried to move on instead. It was hard, I won't lie. I was so disappointed I felt downright depressed for about a week afterwards, but I got over it, and as a close mate of mine put it nicely, I was able to charge it to experience. As in, sometimes it's best to just take the L, as it were, and move on having learned a lesson. And bloody hell, that Anna girl taught me one all right. One I'll never forget.
Different parallel universe. He stayed with Anna, and then they became druggies together, and then he's hooked on heroin now. GG. I don't know. Just his ecosystem, but I would have assumed that he would have just stayed with her and just kept taking heroin now, and he's just like be druggies, I guess. I don't know. Is what it is, I guess. Right, Legitimate, I appreciate it. That was a... I'll be honest, when I first looked at this video, I thought it would be more like relationship stuff, but this is more just like randomness, I guess, but same time, is what it is. All right. Is what it is. Yeah. There's not really much to say about it besides it is what it is, right? That last story was purely just ecosystem based, 100%. What does the comments be saying? Dude should have reported her. It's literally illegal. I mean, I guess if the genders were swapped, then the guy would probably be in jail or something. I don't know. Story 2 makes me think, are we dating the same guy Facebook page? What was the second story again? I think I skipped one of the stories. Yeah, I skipped one of the stories because it turns out it was just like, yeah, nah. He was just doing some drugs. I skipped the first story. What was the first story again? I think I skipped it. I'm pretty sure I skipped... Yeah, I skipped the first story. You're basically just supposed to say, yeah, no dating, done. That was actually pretty interesting. Brand new topics into this metadata we have got going on. That was interesting, but I mean, again, is what it is, you know? It really is just what it is. It really is what it is. It really is the fact that it is what it is. Because same thing as like you just driving to work, like after watching this video, you just get one shot by a truck. It is what it is, you know? So when it comes to like dating and stuff, you know, maybe that girl or like one shots you in bed, you did or something, right? Is what it is. Ain't much you can do about it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. They can only do it so many times, right? Same as like that serial killer girl that sleeps with guys and then kills them. They could only do it so many times before it's over, you know? Same as like when a drunk driver goes on the road, right? He could only go on the road drunk and kill people so many times before he's locked up or dead himself, you know? Is what it is. Your wife that has been with you for forever, she could just stab you in the chest at night. It is what it is. Could stab you in the neck, you know? A meteorite can just fall on your house. It is what it is. But everything has its balance for a reason, right? There's a balance, right? Sometimes it just happens to you. It is what it is. Sometimes it happens to someone else. It is what it is. Ain't much you can really, yeah. It's about it, right? Just gotta continue doing what you're doing usually. You can prevent as much as you want, but if someone really wants to get you, they'll get you as well. And yeah, okay, well, hopefully you guys learned something there. I don't know, I don't think I learned anything. I just reinforced that it is what it is. You know, there wasn't too many things. Again, that third story was purely just ecosystems, right? I mean, yeah, she drugged him bad, but same time, similar ecosystems, plus the fact that she had tattoos, she goes to music festivals, what do you expect? But, I mean, that's his type of girl, and he's actually the type of guy that smokes every night anyways, so that's that. And I think the first story, just say you don't want to date him, done. Don't try and, you know, just, you know, don't lie and try play. But again, at the same time, I don't think the first guy would have been attached at all. And the police and stuff. And then the second story, wait, what's the second story again? Oh yeah, the second story with like another gang related thing. That's also, it is what it is, right? Your brother messed with some people, they'll go get him and get you a family as well, you know? Like, no joke. That yeah, like your cousin that you had never seen in a while did something, and then they just hate him so much that they'll find any kind of related bloodline, right? Like, if there was some really, really angry person at your bloodline, he'd be like, that's it, I'm wiping out your bloodline. What do you mean? There's like multiple bloodlines here in New Zealand and China and even Japan. I'll hunt them all down. Oh, GG, right? Just get one shot too. That's just how it is, right? But at the same time, in a different POV, if you really wanted to get someone, you would, you know, let's say Joe Swanson had beef. I had beef with Joe Swanson, right? I'll find out where his family is as well, and just like mess with his family. Be like, yo, look at this video, bro. Your mum's chained up. What are you gonna do about it? You know, it is what it is. Same. Right? See you guys next time. That's pretty interesting. Bye bye.